up. My sister got plane tickets to Europe. So, I took their advice and did this. The next morning, they would call in panic. Because now, I know what you're thinking, maybe it was a nice book, maybe a sweet, inspirational memoir with some motivational anecdotes and a pastel cover. Nope. It was a paperback with a cartoon drawing of a woman in her 30s clinging to a juice box and a glitter wand, while bills flutter around her head. The subtitle? Stop Being a Toddler in a Grown-Up Body. Charming. It's the kind of book that gets handed out at mandatory HR trainings, the kind that's usually accompanied by a wink and this reminded me of you. Except in this case, my parents weren't winking. My mom was already halfway through telling my sister about the other copy she bought for a coworker who still uses smiley faces in work emails. Gasp, the horror. My sister, meanwhile, was busy unwrapping a shiny envelope from under the tree. It was thick and cream-colored and practically glowed with prestige. I didn't have to squint to read the airline logo printed across the top. Barcelona, she gasped dramatically. Seriously? My parents beamed. We wanted you to have another opportunity to expand your global network, my dad said, like he was launching a diplomatic mission and not funding her third field research trip, of the year. To grow your career, my mom added. Then, like an afterthought, she turned back to me and said, and maybe this book can help you grow yours. I smiled. I do that when I'm trying not to cry, or scream, or burst out laughing in a way that might be misinterpreted as a sign of mental instability. I wish I could say this was the first time something like this happened, but if my life had a holiday theme, it would be a very one-sided Christmas. Last year, my sister got a MacBook for her studies, and I got a laminated to-do list for organizing the garage, handwritten in Comic Sans. I'm used to being the afterthought. I work full-time at a kindergarten. It's loud, sticky, occasionally chaotic, and unlike my family, it never pretends to be something it's not. I spend my days comforting crying kids, resolving toy-based hostage negotiations, and pretending I don't notice when someone eats glitter glue. I also used to do children's parties on weekends, balloon animals, fairy wings, the whole deal. You're the only person I know who owns 6 pairs of sparkly wings and no winter coat, my sister once joked. My parents call it the clown job, even though I've never once dressed as a clown, because I respect myself and the emotional fragility of children. I don't do the parties as much anymore. Not because I've outgrown them, but because I don't have time. Most of my weekends are now spent babysitting my sister's daughter, for free, of course. Because, as my mom likes to say, it takes a village. Apparently, I am the village. The entire village. The babysitter, the emotional support goat, the emergency contact, and the backup pediatrician when the real one is on vacation. So, when they handed me that book with its smug cartoon woman and her tiny tantrum, I didn't say anything. I didn't cry. I didn't flip the coffee table or dramatically storm out like I might have fantasized about on particularly bad Mondays. I just smiled. And then I took a sip of the lukewarm cocoa I'd made for everyone and wondered how I could be 31 years old and still feel like a 10-year-old in my own family. After the gifts, dinner happened. It was one of those potluck-style meals where my contributions were homemade and heartfelt, and my sister brought store-bought cranberry sauce that still got more praise than my rosemary roasted potatoes. At one point, my dad actually said, "Wow, Amelia, this cranberry sauce is delicious. Did you make it yourself?" She blinked. No, I literally opened a can. He laughed like she just told the joke of the year. You've always been the practical one. I nearly choked on my potatoes. Later, I offered to help clean up, of course, and my mom handed me a trash bag and said, "You've always been good at this stuff. That's what I admire about you, you're not too proud to do the little jobs." I wanted to ask what they thought my job was. If taking care of 25 preschoolers and keeping them from biting, gluing, or beating each other with toy dinosaurs wasn't real enough, then what was? But I didn't, because this was Christmas, and because I knew the answer. They didn't see me as grown. They saw me as dependable, cheerful, silly. The helper. The extra set of hands. I wasn't ambitious. I wasn't important. I was nice. And nice people in this family got assigned cleanup duty. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling of my tiny rented room above a nail salon. I could still hear the giggle of my niece from earlier when I'd made her a reindeer puppet out of paper plates and red pom-poms. Her laughter echoed louder in my chest than anything my parents had said all day. That's when it hit me. They gave me a book on growing up like it was some clever little jab. But maybe, just maybe, they were right. Not in the way they thought. Not in a get a real job kind of way. Not in a stop acting like a child kind of way. But in a start acting like an adult who deserves respect kind of way. So I got up, brushed the glitter off my floor, sat down at my desk, and I started drafting a message. Just a simple one, kind, polite, firm. No passive aggression, no sarcasm, just clear boundaries. I let my sister know I'd be stepping back from regular babysitting starting in the new year. I was happy to be an aunt, but I couldn't continue giving up every weekend, especially not when it meant sacrificing my time, energy, and sanity. I also informed her, gently, that I would no longer be contributing to her travel fund or tuition. I had my own future to plan for. I wished her well. Told her I believed in her dreams. Then I sent a second message to my parents, thanking them for the book, letting them know it had really made me think. I didn't say anything about how it made me feel. I didn't need to. Because the next morning, their calls started. And I let them go to voicemail. Because I had work. Because I had kids who actually saw me. Because I had a life. And because, for the first time in a long time, I was finally growing up on my own terms. I didn't expect a standing ovation or anything. But I also didn't expect 6 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and a group text from my mom that said, "We're just very surprised. This feels out of character. Please reconsider for the sake of the family." Out of character. You know what else was out of character? Giving your child a passive-aggressive self-help book as a Christmas gift and expecting her to keep washing your dishes and raising your other child like a living nanny with glitter allergies. But sure, I was the problem. I didn't answer, not that day, not the next either. I figured they could sit with it. They were big on natural consequences when I was a kid, seemed fair to let them experience one. The irony is, if you asked my parents or even my sister, they'd probably tell you I had a perfect childhood, stable home, no screaming, good schools, no tragedy to pin anything on. What they never noticed was that some of the deepest bruises don't leave visible marks. They just get passed off as jokes or parenting styles and buried under years of subtle neglect. When I was 7, I told my parents I wanted to be a fairy when I grew up, not a princess, not a ballerina, a fairy. I had a whole speech prepared. I believed it with my whole heart. My dad laughed so hard he dropped his fork. "Maybe aim for something with dental insurance," he said. And my mom, with a soft chuckle, added, "She'll change her mind." They always do. I never did. The fairy dream became early childhood education. The sparkly wings became puppet shows and story time and messy art projects that made kids light up like Christmas trees. But to them, it was all the same, a phase, an adorable detour on the way to something more respectable. My sister Amelia always knew what she wanted: success. Glossy, spreadsheet-worthy, internationally certified success. She had a LinkedIn page at 16, practiced debate in the mirror, won awards for writing essays she didn't care about. She was good at performance, just not the kind with puppets and crayons. When she said she wanted to study international relations, my parents clapped like she'd cured polio. "She's going to change the world," they said. She got grants, internships, scholarships, and when those ran dry, she got me. At first, it was small, helping cover her student visa fees, then textbooks, then her trip to Berlin for a symposium that looked a lot like a yoga retreat. Then came childcare. That one stuck. She had her baby, Ally, 2 years ago. I was thrilled. I love that little human like she's my own. But loving her didn't mean I signed up to parent her while Amelia jetted off to Lisbon to build connections. It started slowly, an hour here, a Saturday there, until it became always. I missed birthday parties at work, canceled dates, stopped taking weekend gigs. Once I mentioned starting up again, and my mom said, "Oh honey, that's not a real business. That's like playing dress up." She said it while I held her grandchild, who was wearing a sparkly tutu and calling me Fairy Auntie. The irony was lost on her. But the worst part? I let it happen. I thought being good meant being needed, being helpful, even if it meant being invisible. That's how I was raised. When Amelia got an A, they framed it. When I won a storytelling contest dressed as a dinosaur, they told me not to show off. When she wanted to work in diplomacy, they gave her the guest room as a study. When I said I wanted to work with children, they asked if I'd consider a backup plan. They didn't see me, they saw a job title and cringed. They saw glitter and thought I hadn't grown up. But I've wiped more noses, handled more meltdowns, and resolved more toddler feuds than most CEOs do in boardrooms. I just do it in sneakers and a paint-splattered apron. I didn't grow up to be a fairy, I grew up to be someone who makes kids feel safe. Who notices when they're quietly sad. Who turns scrubs into dragons and hubs into confidence. But that didn't count, not to them. Success meant being more like Amelia. And I almost believed them. That being cheerful made me childish. That loving kids made me silly. That being helpful made me lesser. Until this year. Until the book. Until I realized that growing up wasn't about becoming less of myself. It was about becoming more of myself, with boundaries. So I stopped. I didn't babysit. I didn't offer. I didn't explain. I just declined politely. I hope it's amazing. Maybe next time, I told her. And I stopped sending money. Quietly. No drama. Just stopped. And boy, did they notice. You've always been so generous, it's hurtful you're pulling away. This coldness is concerning. So I guess I'm on my own now. Wow. Amazing how quickly people act like you've betrayed them the moment you stop being a free service. But I wasn't pulling away. I was standing up. For my time. For my peace. And in that space I made, I found laughter again. Not forced, polite laughter, but real, belly-deep laughter. With people who see you. Who really see you. Like one of my students, who looked me in the eye with jelly bean sticky fingers and said, "I love you more than candy." And finally, I believed that maybe I was never the problem. But not more than space. That kind of joy doesn't come from obedience. It comes from truth, from choosing the kind of adult you want to be. Even if it's the kind who owns 6 sets of fairy wings and a spreadsheet for glitter inventory. The first real sign of panic came via group chat, family thread. Mom, quick question. Are you free this weekend for Elodie? Amelia, me and Marcus have a thing. Shouldn't take long. Me, sorry, I've got plans. Amelia, plans or one of your little parties? Me, neither. Just not available. Dad, that's disappointing. We really counted on you. Counted on me? Like a dryer cycle or a footrest? No acknowledgement of the 100 weekends I'd already given up, just the assumption that I'd keep being convenient forever. That weekend, I went to the zoo alone. And I had a blast. I fed giraffes, ate overpriced cotton candy, and laughed out loud when a toddler threw a shoe into the meerkat enclosure and yelled, "That's my offering." No one asked me to do anything. No one called me childish. No one handed me a baby and said, "Be a good girl and watch her, just for a bit." I didn't even post about it. I just kept it for myself. Of course, my peaceful giraffe glow-up lasted exactly 36 hours, because Monday morning I arrived at work to find 3 missed calls from my dad, and a voicemail that began with, "We're deeply hurt." Always a good sign. Apparently, Amelia had tried to line up a paid babysitter for Saturday night, her words, not mine, and it fell through. Some teen with a fake resume and a nose ring backed out last minute. And rather than cancel her networking cocktail mixer, she left Elodie with Marcus's cousin. The cousin, bless his soul, forgot to change Elodie's diaper for 5 hours, taught her how to say screw this, and let her eat whipped cream straight from the can. My parents were horrified. "Do you know how much stress Amelia is under?" my mom said. "She doesn't need this kind of betrayal." Betrayal. That was the word. Like I'd stolen state secrets or abandoned a kitten in the snow. I didn't even respond. I just stared at my phone and slowly peeled a Paw Patrol sticker off my notebook while breathing through my nose. The next time Amelia texted, it wasn't a request. It was a statement. "Amelia, we need to talk. Mom said you've been weird lately. Also, I noticed my tuition deposit hasn't gone through. Are you behind?" I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the teacher's lounge, where 2 of my coworkers immediately leaned in like they'd just heard the first line of a soap opera. Me, I'm not behind. I just stopped. She called me immediately. "Amelia, you what?" Me, I stopped sending money. "Amelia, you can't just do that without warning. I'm in the middle of applying for this Geneva program." Me, and I'm not your sponsor, Amelia. I'm your sister. She was quiet for one blessed second. Then she scoffed. Amelia, this is about the stupid book, isn't it? I almost said yes. That would have been the easy answer. But the truth is, the book was just the last straw, a little badly designed paperback balancing on top of emotional invisibility. Me, it's not about the book, I said. It's about everything. Amelia, what's everything? Me, you, I said. And Mom. And Dad. And how none of you take me seriously unless I'm being useful. How my job's a joke to you, but my free labor is apparently sacred. How I paid thousands to support your education and your trips, while you roll your eyes at mine like I'm some fairy tale dropout. Amelia, oh my God, she muttered. You're being dramatic. There it was. The classic Amelia shutdown. The same voice she used when we were kids and I cried after she cut the head off my favorite stuffed unicorn. You're so sensitive. You're just emotional. Grow up. Me, you're not entitled to my money, I said quietly. And you're not entitled to my time. I love Elodie. But I'm not your nanny. She hung up. Which honestly, was kind of a win until the escalation began. 2 days later, my mom showed up at my work unannounced. Full coat, heels, scarf, the whole I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed look in real life. I was cleaning up after a glitter-craft explosion when I saw her standing in the hallway, eyes scanning the walls like she was trying to find something criminal in our crayon-drawn whales and construction paper owls. Mom, can we talk? Me, I blinked. Right now? She smiled tight. Just a moment. I stepped into the hallway, still holding a glue stick. Mom, your sister's very upset, she began. She says you're being cold. And I have to say, I agree. I said nothing. She looked around, then added. I know you enjoy this environment. But maybe it's time to think about the bigger picture. You're not a teenager anymore. I looked down at the glue stick in my hand. Me, you know what's funny? I said. Every day I tell my kids that their feelings matter. That they deserve respect. That it's okay to say no. She blinked. Me, and I really believe that, I added. Even if I have sparkles on my pants while I'm saying it. She stared at me like I'd just recited Shakespeare in ancient Greek. Me, I'm not being cold, I said. I'm being clear. That's what growing up means. Setting limits. Protecting your peace. Choosing how you want to live. Mom, and abandoning your family? Me, no, I said. Just stepping out of unpaid servitude. She opened her mouth. But I walked back into my classroom, because snack time was sacred. And my kids didn't judge me for not buying plane tickets to Europe. The next few weeks were quiet. Tense. Weirdly quiet. No requests. No invites. Just silence. Until the party. Elodie's birthday. I didn't get an invitation. What I got was a Facebook post. Elodie in a bouncy castle, holding a cake twice her size while Amelia and Marcus posed next to her in coordinated pastels. The caption read, Some families are born. Others show up. I wasn't tagged. Neither was anyone from my side of the family. I sat with that for a while. Like, really sat with it, on the couch in silence, eating popcorn I didn't even want. Then I got up. And I booked a small venue. Then I pulled out my boxes of costumes and decorations and puppets. I messaged a few parents from work. I called in a few favors. And the next weekend, I threw a party, a magical, colorful, chaotic, sparkle-filled birthday celebration just for Ally. Just me and her. No politics, no manipulation. His love. We made crowns. We had a puppet show. I let her spray glitter confetti with zero restraint. She hugged me so hard at the end, I thought I'd fall over. Best birthday ever, she whispered. I didn't cry. I just smiled and said, that's what aunties are for. No strings, no guilt, just magic. And this time, I got to be the grown-up. The trouble started with a voice note. It was barely 10 seconds long, sent to Amelia from Elodie's iPad, which she mostly used to watch cartoons and accidentally call random contacts. In the background, you could hear her tiny voice yelling, Fairy party. Fairy party. No boring party. No boring cake. And then, just barely audible, my laugh. She'd been reenacting her birthday weekend ever since it ended, running around in the sparkly tutu I gave her, holding up a glitter wand, demanding more sparkles, and asking where the singing dragon went. I should have expected Amelia wouldn't take it well. At first, she texted me something vague. Amelia, she's confused. Keeps talking about your party like it was the real one. Not helpful. Then, Mom, your sister's upset. Elodie keeps asking for you and calling our party boring. This is not okay. It didn't escalate until someone, probably Elodie, using her wildly chaotic toddler logic, told her daycare teacher. My mama's party boring. My fairy anti-party fun. She even tried to stuff one of my glitter stickers into her cubby, announcing it was for next time. I thought it was funny. Amelia thought it was treason. Next thing I knew, I got a call from my boss. Apparently, someone, no names, but I could guess, had contacted the center asking if any children had ever been removed from class without authorization by a staff member. They were fishing. I sat there in the staff room, surrounded by paper snowflakes and juice boxes, trying to breathe. I hadn't done anything wrong. I had proof. I pulled up the text messages. Me, hey, just confirming for Saturday, same drop-off time as last year? Amelia, sure. Just keep it simple. No need to go overboard. Me, all clear to do it at the community hall? Amelia, fine. Just text me the address. All of it in writing. All of it clear. But that didn't stop the whispers. It didn't stop my aunt from calling me to ask if I was doing okay emotionally. It didn't stop my dad from leaving a voicemail where he said, "You know, we could have gone to the police. We chose not to. Think about that. Think about that." I stared at the wall for a long time after that message. Then I got up, made tea, and opened a new folder on my desktop, proof in case they lose their minds again. Inside, the full text read, the party rental receipt, the RSVP Amelia had texted the night before with. We'll drop her off around 11 o'clock. Thanks again. Then I wrote the email. Hi Amelia. Since I'm now hearing from others that you're suggesting I took Elodie without permission, I've attached a full record of your written consent. If this continues, or if my workplace receives another false inquiry, I'll be consulting legal counsel. I love Elodie, but I will not tolerate being slandered for hosting a party you approved. Bess. She didn't respond. But my mom did. This is family, not court. You're being cold again. Please come talk it through. Not falsely accused. Not defamed. Just cold. They always made my pain a temperature issue. If I stayed calm, I was icy. If I showed emotion, I was too sensitive. There was no correct setting for me to exist in. Meanwhile, Elodie kept asking for me. Her daycare teacher texted me. She tried to call you on a play phone today. Said she was going to invite you to her party part 2. Thought you'd want to know. I smiled. Then cried. But I didn't reach out. Not even when Amelia posted a photo of Elodie playing in the backyard with the caption, "Home is where the real family is." Not even when my parents posted a joint message on Facebook about misguided family members who think children are toys to be won. I said nothing. Because I didn't need to fight lies with more noise. I had the truth. And apparently, I had backup. A week later, my uncle called. The good one. The only one who once brought me cake on a random Tuesday and said, "You matter more than they let on, you know." I saw your mom's post, he said. Everyone's talking. It's ridiculous. I sighed. I didn't do anything wrong. I know, he said. We all know. Apparently, my grandma had called Amelia to ask what the problem was. Amelia hung up. My cousin messaged me privately. I saw the party photos. Elodie looked so happy. You're amazing with her. And then, without fanfare, without warning, I got a DM from one of Amelia's friends, someone I'd only met once. Hey, I know it's not my place, but I just wanted to say, the way they've been talking about you, it's not okay. If you ever need someone to back you up, I'm here. It was a small message. But it felt enormous. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the villain. I was just the first one to say no. That weekend, I booked 3 new party clients, parents who'd seen photos from the fairy party and wanted something similar. One of them said, "We've had the usual bounce house and clown, but this feels like actual joy." And maybe that was the difference. Amelia's party had been Pinterest perfect, coordinated balloons, expensive cake, hired photographers. Mine had been messy, intimate, loud, glorious, and real. The next Monday, I received a letter in the mail. Amelia's handwriting. Inside, a short note. I overreacted. I was scared. I didn't like that Elodie was so happy without me. "You did nothing wrong. I'm sorry. I understand if you want distance, but if you ever want to see her again, I hope you'll let me know." I folded the note. I didn't forgive her right away. That takes time. But I did reply. "I love Elodie. I'm always happy to see her. But I won't be part of a family system that turns love into control. For rebuilding anything, it has to start with truth." She never replied to that. But 3 weeks later, she sent a video of Elodie dancing in the tutu I gave her. She was twirling, glitter flying everywhere. At the end of the clip, Elodie stopped spinning, waved at the camera, and said, "I love my fairy auntie." I didn't cry. I smiled. Because I didn't have to defend myself anymore. They tried to ruin my name, and I built something stronger instead. It's been 3 years. Elodie's 5 now, talkative, wildly imaginative, and currently convinced she's part unicorn. I see her regularly. Her parents don't exactly love it, but they allow it. Because she adores me. And even they know what we have is real. And frankly, they need the break. Amelia finished her degree eventually. But it wasn't easy without my financial help. She had to cut back on travel, decline some unpaid, career-boosting programs, and take out a hefty loan. She struggled at first, juggling school, a toddler, and no more free weekends. But she got through it. Stumbled, adapted, and in her own way, grew up too. She works now. It's not glamorous, not international, and certainly not what she once boasted about at holiday dinners. But it's hers. She's doing okay, just not on a pedestal anymore. My parents, we keep distant contact. A few obligatory messages. They still don't get it. They think I overreacted. But they also never offered a real apology. Just silence, followed by occasional guilt-flavored texts like, "Your sister's doing her best. We all miss how things used to be." But here's the thing, I don't. My life now, it is mine. I run a small business doing creative workshops for kids. I've got a wait list for birthday parties 2 months out. I'm regularly invited to speak at early childhood events. I even hired a part-time assistant, her name's Bree, and she's better at balloon animals than I'll ever be. I still wear glitter. Still tell stories. Still use silly voices and get paint in my hair. But now, no one calls it childish. They call it booked and thriving. And sometimes, I still wonder, did I go too far? Then I remember